Hi Gemini, welcome to your belated December 2019 love reading. It's Raina here. Just catching up after having a cold and kind of being out of commission for, I think it was like 10 days actually, but you know, different stages obviously. Maybe a little bit less than that, at least a week. So let's see what we got here. This is the Ethereal Visions Illuminated Tarot deck. This is the back of it. And let's see what we got. And this is for singles as well as people in relationships that are, you know, not very compatible. Okay, so the heart of the matter is the Justice card. This card is connected to Libra. So if you're Libra's an air sign like you are, Gemini. Obviously, the Justice card can be something legal if you're contemplating getting divorced, for instance. Excuse me. Or maybe you've just recently gotten divorced. And if you've recently gotten divorced and you are kind of on the market, as they call it, are you there too early? Maybe you're there prematurely and you should have given more time just to kind of digest what happened. If you're single and looking, this could be a situation where you have a strong desire for an equal relationship. Maybe you had a relationship where you were doing, or balanced, I should say, balanced, fair relationship, where you were the one that was giving too much and you felt like it was a one-sided relationship, and so you've kind of learned your lesson and you're looking for that type of a person. And, you know, maybe you just feel like you don't want somebody who just talks about themselves all the time or doesn't, like you're always the one calling them, they never call you, and things like that. In the past position, we have the Two of Swords. This was kind of like having to make a choice. You know, the reason you may have seen in the Rider-Waite deck also that they had a blindfolded person. This is to indicate maybe the person lying to themselves, not seeing something that is going on in that relationship or within themselves as they are trying to make a decision. And you know, if we're looking at the Justice card and then we have the Two of Swords, it could be one of those deals where you were waiting for somebody else, your partner, to stop cheating. If you're in a relationship and you were hoping that they would, you know, be the one to pick you. I guess it's possible that you have two relationships going simultaneously and you were having a hard time deciding what to do. I guess it can go either way. But and maybe, you know, the thing is too, maybe you did make that decision. See, that's what I said at the beginning. Maybe you, in the past, because that's supposed to be the past position, the two of Swords, you might have felt like you were stuck, but then you realized that you had to go through with it. The higher message was just what I was saying. 10 of Wands, you know, shouldering the burden of something. And this can be like hard work. I mean, this card has multiple meanings, but in terms of like relationships, it's it's like kind of maybe taking the responsibility for somebody else's obligations even. And that led to a codependent relationship. So perhaps as a spiritual lesson, you are realizing that you have to make sure in the future that you don't get caught up in trying to rescue somebody, trying to, do for them what they need to be doing for themselves, and things like that, because that can lead to a very imbalanced relationship, and it's really not a relationship. It's really a caretaking situation. And again, with the Justice card, it's about fairness. And, everyone deserves to have a relationship where they are also treated with not only dignity, but with appreciation. Because sometimes you do and do and do, and you don't even get that appreciation. It's not like you're doing it for the appreciation, but you feel like, gosh, can I ever get like a little pat on the back, that I'm really trying to make somebody's life better for them. And that's when you should really know that your actions are not being appreciated, and therefore you're actually doing yourself a disservice as well as them. Sometimes, of course we help other people. It's not like I'm saying just be selfish, but you're not here to rescue other people. That's not what relationships are about. And, if early on in the relationship you're already supporting somebody financially, you have to know that there's something that isn't quite right. When you're in a relationship that's committed and you've been together for a while and one of you is not employed at the moment, it's wonderful when you have a partner and they can pick up the slack or what have you. But when you're getting into a relationship and right off the bat, that person is having some kind of a difficulty and you're like, you're volunteering to help them by supporting them, you're taking responsibility for something that is not yours to do so that early on. Later on, it would make more sense, but it's like a red flag a lot of times, I think. And so you have to look at that with the Ten of Wands. Is this something that you have a tendency to do? Even if you're single and you're getting to know somebody and you find out, well, they seem like they're always like having all these problems. That's something to look at, because somebody's going to have to pick up the slack, and it's going to be you, let's face it. So, if you want somebody who's dependent on you and you can feel like you're important because you're taking care of somebody, then it's a free country. You can do that. But don't think that it's going to be a fair relationship like the Justice card is talking about, because it isn't. It's going to be almost like a parent-child relationship. And I think eventually a lot of people who find themselves in that situation, they get tired of it and they get mad. But it's like they only have themselves to blame, because they may have known this was a reality a long, long time ago, and they chose to look the other way. And I'm saying, no, don't kind of don't kind of make it out to be nothing. It's very important. And the other person won't want you to support them if you've just met. Most people do not want other people to support them, especially if they've never really had a relationship before. A lot of people are proud and they want to be able to do it themselves, and they reject help. So when you have somebody who's willing to be in that dependent role, just understand that you'll probably lose respect for them at some point. And because you're going to feel resentful. With the Ten of Wands, you're going to feel like they're using you, that you're getting stressed out because you're very tired. And again, you can't really blame the other person when you signed up for it. So remember that. What crosses you is the King of Wands. And this is a perfect example of what I'm saying, because the King of Wands is it's a double masculine energy. Now, with court cards, we do look at the actual gender of the person. But if we just look at what the energy is like, regardless of gender of that particular card, forgetting about any other factor, it's about taking control. But not being a tyrant. This would be the King of Wands. This card in the challenge position is more like the bully, the tyrant, the control freak. In the upright position, the King of Wands is in control of himself. And so he doesn't need to control others, or if he's in a position of authority, either as a parent or as a boss or a supervisor, whatever you want to call him, he doesn't need to be extra when it comes to those things. He's capable of telling his employees what they need to do and then letting them do it. He's not going to be micromanaging. He's not going to be getting into these petty situations to throw his weight around. And just as character traits, the King of Wands is a leader, is very dynamic, is a doer. And so when we see it in the challenge position, I'm reading it as a reversed card, and we have somebody who's very weak, who does not have a sense of themselves. But they may have some kind of status where they can still pretend like they do. So they have employees and they are, they're the toxic boss. Maybe they're just a narcissistic personality altogether, where they just are very critical and those kind of negative traits that make us separate ourselves from another person when we're in a close relationship. Just kind of that lust for power, that need to have the upper hand, could be the King of Wands in reverse. And you may know, you may be dealing with somebody if you're single. I was going to say, I guess it could be even if you're in a relationship. This may be somebody that you already know who is, perhaps you're dating them already, and you notice that they have the tendency to be negative and bullying. And even they may not show that side to you, but perhaps they don't care either, even in the workplace, that they're all about themselves. And you may second guess yourself. They may even try to get you to second guess yourself and make you think that your perceptions are somehow distorted, when in fact they're very on the money. And the King of Wands in reverse, this could be reminiscent of your father, and maybe you've kind of created a relationship with somebody that reminds you of your father because you never quite got over it. Or maybe just certain qualities were very cocky, and it just reminded you in a positive way of your father. Even though he may not have been perfect, you still feel that sense of familiarity and connection with him. Perhaps this is a boss who you are having an affair with, or I never say this, maybe this is a boss who is sexually harassing you. And the justice card could be that you are really seeking to stop this. I think I'm the kind of person that doesn't believe in litigation unless it's absolutely necessary. And there have been a lot of women, but some men who have been harassed by men in the workplace. Oh, sometimes women though too. Women can be sexual harassers. Again, it's the abuse of power. And I think when I was younger, I probably would have just dismissed it. And I was just talking to my partner because he didn't really understand, or he was being very skeptical that it's such a big deal. And I said, no, believe me, it is. I said, when you go to work, you don't want to have to hear sexual innuendos or fear that if you tell the person to stop doing it, that they're going to retaliate. Because that's what these people do, if they're on the narcissistic spectrum. They have to always find a way to control the situation. By the way, I read somebody say that the legal system is designed for narcissists. It's their playground. And I was like, that blew me away, because I thought to myself, yeah, that sounds absolutely right. Because it's just a way for people, when they feel like they're not getting what they want, to try to punish somebody else. And so this kind of person may be a bully. And because of it, you find that it's hard for you to endure, but it's hard for you to get away. If this is somebody like a father or a father figure to you, you may have kind of like a little bit of trepidation about getting into some kind of a love situation, because you're afraid that this person is going to be, giving you, not this person, but that, the influence of a father, kind of turning you off to love. And for sure, that does happen, because unfortunately, some people are not balanced, and they cannot relate to anybody in a genuine way. They can only try to control, manipulate. I just did a reading for Aries, and it's funny how similar this is in a lot of cases. What's coming in is represented by the Three of Swords. Three of Swords, or this could be advice. I would say even especially as advice, that you may have to just cut it off. Like with the Two of Swords, you may have been deliberating for a long time. Should I leave? Shouldn't I? And kind of stalling your ultimate decision. And this is like, not only cut it off, but cut it off very decisively, and have everything in place where the other person cannot contact you. Maybe you change your number. Maybe you have moved and they don't know your new address. Just something where you kind of are, totally out of their life once and for all. You make sure that all of your stuff is gone, so you don't have to ever come back and ask them if they have this or they have that, because these are the kinds of people, if they're malicious enough, they're going to make it hard for you. Three of Swords can indicate that sense of rejection. And if you have found yourself, Gemini, in a very demeaning situation where you have a partner who was trying to decide whether or not to stay with you or them, being able to cut it off gives you that kind of upper hand. Otherwise, you're just sitting there waiting and they may enjoy it. They may enjoy seeing you suffer. They may get off on having two people fighting for them. If you cut it off, you're like, you two deserve each other. I don't want to deal with you anymore. But it's also, I think, acknowledging that hurt, because you may be so much in the mode of trying to figure out what to do about it that you're not really taking time to honor yourself and say, wow, that really hurt, to mourn the loss of a dream. And the outcome is the Hermit card. This is a card of the contemplative individual. And you notice this deck is faithful to the Rider-Waite, and you see that just like the Rider-Waite deck, they have the lantern and the star, which can be like your North Star, your direction you need to be going in, but also hope and the belief that things can get better again. But again, doing soul searching, looking within, taking time alone. There's a solitude associated with the Hermit. The Hermit card is connected to Virgo. So if there's a timing here, if there's either like meeting somebody during the time of Virgo, or ending something, and that would be a full moon in Virgo, which is happening in March, and things like that. So something along those lines. But these cards indicate something complex. It could be complex in terms of if you've been together for a long time and you've kind of had your lives intertwined, but not necessarily complex in what's really going on. That might actually be quite clear if you're willing to acknowledge it. If you're single, it might be past influences. And you have to kind of break the pattern before you can really choose wisely. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this, Gemini. If you'd like a personal reading, or like a transits reading for 2020, I have that one listed below, but that takes you to my website either way. And I hope that the rest of your December is glorious and it's filled with love. Take care. Bye.